Clerk Peters then spoke publicly for the first time since her arrest at a gathering in Castle Rock last night. The conservative group FEC United held what was called an emergency town hall. It was a who's who of election conspiracy theorists, including one who suggested hanging Colorado's Democratic Secretary of State. Said that to applause inside a church. Here's politics guy Marshall Zellinger.
For 3 hours Thursday night, FEC United hosted what it called a, quote, emergency town hall with Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters and special guests.
So you may know me as the #1 most dangerous election denier in Colorado.
That special guest is Shawn Smith, an election rigging conspiracy theorist who at this meeting said, without proof, he had evidence of criminal election conduct by Colorado Democratic Secretary of State Jenna Griswold. Then, in a church, he more than hinted at ignoring one of the 10 commandments.
If you're involved in election fraud, then you deserve to hang. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. I was accused of endorsing violence. I'm not endorsing violence. I'm saying when you put your hand on a hot stove, you get burned.
I took it very seriously. I reported it to State Patrol.
Griswold learned about this threat through social media, where she has received numerous threats, which she shared with us and law enforcement.
Usually nothing happens, and it's very concerning because we're seeing these attacks against secretaries of state, predominantly women.
The threats of hanging elected leaders did not start last night.
If you see any articles that are out there that talk about Joe Oltmann is talking about sending people to the gallows, I did. I said that. I said that the adequate response for treason is 100%. Being hung by your neck till you're dead.
Joe Oltmann, the head of FEC United, has pushed that narrative on his conservative podcast and speaking events multiple times.
And by the way, if you don't like me talking about the gallows and hanging those that are traitors against our country, change the law because it's in the Constitution that you should be hung.
Thursday night's comments were at The Rock, a church in Castle Rock. I stopped by there today to see if the church and the pastor who attended the event supports the idea of hanging the Secretary of State and if the church would have FEC United back again. The pastor told me he was against the deadline and would like to sit down with me later, but that it was not a simple yes or no. It is. I have received many questions about how an event like that can impact a church's tax-exempt status. I reached out to the IRS to get some basics. I am by far not an expert on this still, but a church can have a public forum. However, if there is support for or against any specific candidate, that's where it gets a little squirrely.
Perhaps we could ask the church if they'd be interested in hosting the hanging. I imagine with the amount of death threats against the Secretary of State, she's got to have protection.
She has third-party protection, not always State Patrol, and she's asked for more funding and received more funding from the state to hire third-party protection, security. She is pushing for a new state law that would give her, the Attorney General, and the State Treasurer the same State Patrol protection that the Governor and Lieutenant Governor currently have.
Just kind of goes without saying, if you're a public official doing your job, you should probably not get assassinated for it. All right, Marshall, thank you.